Well, I'll start the recording and just so grateful everybody showed up tonight. I know this time of year, sometimes attendance can fall out, but that's okay. We're always working with and studying the laws, and I'm grateful that Chris is leading tonight. So again, this is working with the law. We're using this version. Some are using a different version, the one that Chris has. So it doesn't really matter. We'll just make sure that we're pointed in the right direction, regardless of the book. It's the same content, just different pages. And it's chapter 4 tonight, working with the law of attraction. And we did skip and jump to chapter 5 on the previous one because I wanted to cover the law of I hear vacuum cleaning.
Yeah.
So,
sorry. Everybody keep yourself muted.
Yeah, I haven't muted everybody yet. I just thought with so few, we could kind of keep the lines open. If you want to mute yourself, not a problem. So Chris has just, I know just from listening to Casey and all the work that you're doing, Chris, and so many lives that you're changing and helping, and you're just applying the laws, living the laws, truly becoming a master of the laws. And so for that reason, I'm just so grateful to have you tonight present this chapter. And so everyone, this is Chris Drabenstott in her Zen work command meditative room in Command Central. So Chris.
All right, good evening everybody. Thanks, Belinda. Okay, so small group tonight, that's okay. I love it. You know, always before these, I'm like, we gotta like tell everybody, make sure everybody shows up. And tonight I stopped and I was like, you know what? As always, like the perfect group will show up and we'll have like the perfect discussion, and like no matter, it doesn't have to be 10 people or 20 people, it can be 5 people. And like all, you know, the last time that we did this round through the book, this happened, right? Like we started out with like 30 and then it went down, and then it's like we kind of had like our chosen like 5 or so people that like dialed in every time. So I'm grateful for everybody that's here, because I am so in love with this chapter that I think if no one showed up, like even if Belinda didn't open the Zoom, I probably would have gotten on and looked at myself and like just like preached this chapter to myself, because I have been like on 10 since I've been reading it. So I think most of you probably know, like maybe one person doesn't know, but I have some preaching in my background. I was a minister at a large Baptist church in Chicago for a while, and this is not going to be a sermon, but as like I have to tell you, like I was feeling kind of preachy when I was reading this. I'm like making my notes and like words, like conversations that were going on in my own head, just because I'm so amazed at what this law has to say and how much it truly can change our lives if we apply it. So let's get into it. I'll try to not make it too quote unquote preachy, but I think it was just amazing. So and just a reminder, I'm actually from the wrong version of the book, and so forgive me if you're not able to flip to a page really quick. I'm not going to give page numbers, but I'll try to direct you as much as I can. Sue, don't, obviously it looks like you're driving, so you won't be flipping through pages anyway. Okay, so the first place I wanted to start is going to be probably on your second page. It's the very top of my second page of the chapter. And the paragraph starts with, on the other hand. But the sentence that I want to read, that's really the premise of the entire law, the entire chapter, is desire connects you with the thing desired, and expectation draws it into your life. This is the law. And I can't tell you how many times I just read that over and over again. You know, Holliwell goes on and breaks down you know, what it means to desire and expectation and having interest in things, and then putting your attention to that, like in very, very great detail. But this just sums it up. Desire connects you this thing that you're desiring, right? So you're going to have a desire for something, but the expectation is what draws it into your life. So it's all about expectation. Oh, my goodness. So if you guys flip back to the very first page of the chapter, what I had written at the top, when I read that little subheading that says to desire is to expect, to expect is to achieve. This whole chapter is like, for me, and this is where I was feeling kind of preachy, is that this is like such a good news chapter, like the law of attraction. Everything is so positive about like, God could not have made it any easier for us. Like to have everything that we want, like all we have to do is desire it, like is to feel good about it. What does it mean to desire, right? Like you desire something that makes you feel good. It gets you excited. And all we have to do is think about that, like put our attention on it. And then what we don't do, like why we don't reason, well, why I desire all these things, but I don't have it, when it comes down to expectation, right? Like, so basically the law is if you expect it to happen, it will happen. You will have whatever you desire. And for me, I was just like, oh my God, it's so simple. Like, you don't have to be smart. You don't have to go to school for it. You don't have to get student loans. I mean, like literally all you have to do is be like, man, that feels good. I like it. I want that. I desire that. And then you put your attention on it, right? Like focus on it, do a little bit of work. You can't kick back and be like, I dream of genie, like make that happen. But literally, like if you all we have to do is like focus your attention on it. I was like, this is crazy that it's that simple, that's all we need to do. So for me, it was such a good news chapter. But the very first point that I wanted to make after all that intro, and then I want to open it up and get your guys' opinions on this. I was showing some of you guys, completed this room in my new house that I call the pillow room. This is kind of like my meditation Zen room. It's full of like all of the walls have inspiration on them, like inspirational art. I have about 4 different vision boards, chalkboards, like things I put notes up on. Like this is my space. And I started looking around after I was reading in this chapter about what Holliwell says about dreaming and wishing and hoping, which I have that everywhere, like follow your dreams. And like, I put this up here on purpose. It's probably backwards, but it's a box that I found at TJ Maxx that's like hopes and dreams inside this little box, and you can just like drop stuff in there and like put it. I was like, oh, this is great. Every time I find something that's like I'm dreaming of that, I'm going to put it in my box. This little book right here, that's Write Your Dreams. I started to write down at night. At first I was like, oh, I'm going to put all of my desires and make it be kind of like a vision board in a book. And Stu and Belinda, like this was kind of based on the Dave MacArthur presentation at Follow Your Bliss, right? He had his little dream book that it had all these photos and comments about it that he would read every night. So that's what I was gonna do. But then what happened is I noticed that I was having dreams. And so again, like we have to take the conscious and the subconscious into account when we're thinking about what we desire. I don't know why my video seems like it's going really slow. But anyway, so what I was noticing is that I would have dreams and would be dreaming about something, and like somebody actually called me. It was really late, and he was like, well, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I was just dreaming. And I was like, it was about this, I was like with this tribe of like shaman Indians, and it's so crazy because like, remember that movie a long time ago, this movie about these Indians, and they were like out in the desert, and I'm like, for some reason, like I've always felt like I just kind of connected like with the shaman culture, but I don't know anything about it. And so like, I think it'd be really cool like learn from them, like healing and like how they do things differently. You know, it's kind of like a religion of itself, and like that's really cool. And I found myself dreaming about it. Well, then I was like, you know what? I should write that down. Like, that's probably it's been like a handful of times. I don't know why. Like, I don't have anybody in my family that's shaman. I don't know anybody that is. But like, for some reason, for me, it has resonated with me, right? So I'm like, I don't know why, I'm just going to write it down. And so I started writing my dream. Like, if I feel good about the dream, I write it down. And I don't know if it's just, like maybe it comes to fruition later, maybe it doesn't. But if it feels good, I'm going to write about it because obviously that's something that I'm desiring. And it's, on a subconscious level, but it feels good. So I like it. So I know I'm rambling, but what it made me think is I want to stop using dreams and hopes. We'll talk, more in a second after, you guys do some sharing about like the whole expectation part, right? Like there are things that we desire, but we don't have it because we don't believe that we're going to get it. We don't expect it is absolutely going to happen because our logic, our ego gets in the way, and it's like, it'd be great, but I don't have time for a vacation. I'm probably never going to have that $1 million house that I want, or whatever it is. But I want to start being careful about not saying I wish this or I hope this, because it should be, if it's something that I desire, I write it down, I pay attention to it, then it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen tomorrow or next month or next year, but I can tell you that like I'm going to be posting on Facebook about like, look, you guys, I'm like going on this retreat with shaman Indians and because I wrote it down and I'm focused on it and I'm putting my attention on it. Somebody say something. I'm going to just stop. Like, I just wanted to get that out because it's just, like, for me, it was like an aha. As far as like, it's so easy to just be like, well, I don't even know what I desire. Nobody's ever asked me. I don't even know. It is as simple as, man, sunshine feels so good on my face. Sunshine. I've got suns all over. I just painted my bedroom in bright yellow because like it reminds me of the sun, and I love sun, and I want to live someplace where there's sun all the time. Like that is like the dumbest little thing, like to be like, oh, what are your hopes and dreams and wishes? Like, I love the sun. And so like that's how I'm starting, and maybe that's silly, but like it is as simple as like I had this dream about these Indians, and I thought it was really cool. It made me feel really good, so I wrote it down. The floor is open.
I'm excited about your excitement.
I'm so excited.
It's contagious. It really is. And what you're doing is exactly what we are blessed to have as this gift, is to focus and get excited and expect. And that was the part of the other side of desire, was to expect, because it's coming, like that wish is being fulfilled. And so you asked a question about that, and I know for me, I find myself starting to go, but when?
Yes.
Especially if it's something I want sooner than later, especially if it's like money. Now I'm back into real world. I'm looking at what really is an illusion, but I'm seeing it as a lack. Whether it's about your time, whether it's about a relationship maybe you're seeking. I mean, everybody's got their own thing, their desire that they're seeking, and how to hold that vibration and stay in it. So just listening to you tonight and looking at your room, your inspiration room, and just constantly staying in that state, I know was meant for me. Like, I feel like that message was meant for me.
Good. Love it.
Anybody else that way or want to add something?
I don't know if I have a voice. Do I have a voice?
It's a good voice.
Yes.
It's Sue. I'm driving, so I have to be careful here. But something came this weekend that was very rare. It's been a while since I've attended a church service. I've been kind of on a discovery path. And it just so happened a new church has formed on the river, which is just a group of lovely people that I had in my life many years ago. And I went to Saturday night, they had music in the park. And then the next day, this group played at the church. And it was so lovely because it had been so long that I sat down in that worship format. And it was a desire of my heart, but I was looking for the right place, and it appeared. So I was really grateful for that. And I just I realized that I have to take action in order for my desires to happen. And so I can wish upon a lot of things, but unless I take action and move in the direction of my desires, I remain stagnant. And so I'm moving forward, and things are starting to roll again. And so it's really exciting to just watch to see what's going to happen next. So I'm really thrilled about that. So I love you girls. You're so
Oh,
good.
you. So glad you dialed in, even though you're in the car. Goodness.
I'm surrounded by trucks right at the moment.
Jason, what showed up for you around this stuff so far?
There is a lot of Bible in this chapter. He doesn't cite chapter and verse or the author, and give honor to him. But I hear the words desire and expectation, and it makes me think of the word faith. And ultimately, that the expectation is
So a definition, I think like in Hebrews, they're probably thinking of a definition of faith as the evidence of things hoped for but not seen. Which I think, like, I'm like shaking my head because I'm like, yes, like it is so faith. Like this whole expectation is like the evidence of like, yeah, something that we hope for. We can't see it, but there is evidence that it's going to be there. You know, like that's to have faith is like, not just like, oh, I hope so, but I don't know that it's going to happen. No, having faith is like, oh yeah, it's for sure going to happen.
I heard it, Chris, explained recently by another pastor. He says that if we can believe that it exists, if we have the faith for it, then that is the evidence that it exists.
Yep.
And I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, going along with, you know, what's ours is ours. And what's yours is yours. And I thought, another thing I thought was interesting, it would be probably on the third page of your guys' chapter. It really talks, Holliwell talks about coveting. Like, don't get caught up, like, wanting, desiring what somebody else has. Because, like you have is, like, out of your desires. Like, my desires should be, like, for me. Right? So, like, I don't want, and I'm like, oh, well, that's the definition of coveting. Is like, I want what you have. And for me, I could look at Belinda's wall and see, on her vision board that she's got like 25 cycles. I'm going to hit 25 cycles. And I'm going to be like, man, would I like 25 cycles? But you know what's up on mine? 10. And like if Belinda's is 25 and I hit 10, you know what mine's going to be? 30. Like, because it's mine. Like, that's the desire that I have. And like, she's got hers. And so I think it's great that I have in the past, and I'm not going to say I'm over it, but like sometimes you want what other people have, right? You're like, oh, Lee, I'd love to have that new house with the pool over there. Like, this is amazing. But it's not for me. And it helps me be grateful for what I do have. And it also helps me be really happy for other people for what they have. That takes that, like, like jealousy kind of out of it. Where I'm not focused on, like, that's not my thing. So I shouldn't be focusing my attention. Okay.
And what
Go ahead.
and what kills faith is fear. The opposite of faith is fear. And it was Jesus that said that do not worry, or worrying doesn't add another. You can't add another day to your life by worrying.
That is such a good segue into again, you guys. I don't know the
Question.
So go ahead.
My phone. Do you want to say something?
Now I just handed a person on the side of the road some money and blessed them.
There you go. There it is.
Oh, good for you. I would love to comment real quick before we segue, if it's okay, and hopefully it'll segue the same as where you were going with Jason, because Jason, I do love that Raymond Holliwell actually at the very, very beginning did give credit to him, to God, and I love that. And I noticed too how almost every chapter, not all, but almost all chapters open with a Bible verse. And so that's just to set that kind of reminder that the law is the law. And because he said he said students have come to the school asking for a better understanding of God and desiring knowledge of its best way to get the most out of life. And they've heard God spoken of as being afar off, when he, really is as close to us as the breath we breathe and closer than our hands and feet. And they've heard him spoken of as love, divine mind, divine intelligence, Jehovah, God, Lord, first cause, primal substance, and so many other names. He says, being of an analytical mind, that he too wanted to know the truth, the facts of a truth. And if it is a truth, there are facts to be had, and they can prove themselves not alone in the spirit, but in practical ways. And so it's his intention to present these lessons simply without high-minded words or vague statements, which sound pretty and promising, but the terms above named are all synonymous, and they mean one and the same thing. And he said, I choose to use a simpler name that everyone will understand. I shall call God working in our lives as law. And wow, I just love, I've read that so many times. It's like page 1 of the book and the preface, and it just really does remind you of this great divine inheritance.
I love it too when you said like that God, like he's going to call him the law, and I went back to the very first thing, the way we opened this up, where I said this is the premise of the chapter. If you replace the law with God, then the sentence reads, desire connects you with the thing desired, and expectation draws it into your life. This is God. Right? If you replace it, instead of this is the law, like this is God. Like you desire it, and then your expectation will draw it into your life. Like that. That's why I was like, he made it so easy. But that's what that's all we have to do. It's
wow, I just had a crazy download. All right, so we have all these chapters. So what if, instead of law, we're like, well, chapter 1 is the God of thinking. The God, right? The God of receiving. The God of increase is actually even more exciting.
Awesome. So fun. Okay. So anyway, I think like for me, I thought I do want to be really careful with how I use dream and hope. Those two things, because if I don't take it any further to that expectation part, then all it is that just remains this hope or wish, right? Like, because I don't, there's doubt that what I desire, I might be dreaming for something. It's not factual. And if there's something that I desire, like, it's done. All I have to do is my part, which is write it down, look at it, focus on it, pay attention to it, and it's done. It's a fact. So this idea of like, oh, my hopes, I've got my hopes and my dreams. And it's like, if it's a desire, it's going down, it's going up. I'm going to look at it, pay attention to it, and expect it. Like, can't wait till that happens. Which I wanted to kind of visit the flip side of things. So, and I'll give you a recent example that has come up for me. This guy's, I don't know, it's right smack dab in the middle of the chapter before. It's going to be like where he goes into the 3 different parts of interest, attention, and expectation. In the section of interest, and it's probably about halfway through that section. It's a sentence that starts with, "We may be so interested in things that are prosperous, joyful, and healthy that we pass by the very things, we may be so interested in things that are not prosperous, joyful, and healthy that we pass by the very things we desire most and overlook the means of our health and prosperity. With our interest so engrossed in seeing the lesser, either through habit or ignorance, we fail to attract the greater things that are all around us." And here I wrote a note that I was like, all right, I'm going to step on some toes on this call, but I have chosen to cancel cable to not watch the news. I know people that start their day with the news every single day. We hear people going back and forth talking about the presidential debate, and there it is, president, it better not be Trump, and it's like the violence that's going on, and it's all over Facebook, all over the news, people are commenting, crime, death, fear, terrorists, these other countries, and like so-and-so just got arrested, happened. It's, the world is so full of mess and hate and anger and it's okay to talk about that and like have a conversation. But if like if you look at what Holliwell says, if we're so interested in those things, then that means all of these other positive things, your prosperity, right? How quickly you receive what you desire. We're going to put that on the back burner because your focus is on Donald Trump. Your focus is on that guy that got shot. Like the racism that's in the world. Like, should we pray about that? Yes. Like, do we desire that the world becomes a better, more loving place? Absolutely. Move on. Let it go. Do that. Like, but don't think about it all day long so that your focus has nothing to do with what's for you. Right? Like your desires, like of you living the life, and I say you, like we, me, all of us, like we have to pay attention to those things. So what does it feel like? Do you feel that when you're having conversations with people that like you get uncomfortable, that it's like after about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I'm like, I'm ready to move off of that now. Literally just doesn't sit well with me because I'm like, I can't be in the midst of all of this like and fear, anger and hate, and it's just like, oh, like yes, we need something about that, and like let's see what we can do to make the world a better place. But I can't wallow in it. I can't argue with people about it. I can't debate about it all day because I just feeling in that it's like, Chris, go do something else. What do you think about that?
Well, I agree. I find I can't participate in it either. And from my understanding, we do live in a participatory universe. We actually do get to create what's around us, what we draw to us. That's really what the chapter's about, the law of attraction. And I know in my circles of friends, we don't even have these discussions. And that's when it became really clear to me how much my life has changed. Because 2 years ago, it would have been all about everything that's negative, what's on the news, political articles. It's just, whether I took a stand for one particular side or the other. And now my stand is just for peace and harmony and staying centered and focused. And occasionally I will come across those kind of things, Chris, like on Facebook, and I can detach as I see it and not put emotion with it. And each time I start to feel emotion well up, that moves me into a wrong direction where I'm now participating in something I don't choose to. I remember that everything's teed up in my favor, always. And that everything everybody's getting, they created, like you just said. That was their desires, that was what they wanted, and that's their world. And then, like, if you think about, like, just say, being in the cities and the intensity of all that, and then you go out into the countryside where people don't even hardly watch the news, and they are out and about, they're meditating, they're having spiritual retreats, they're ascending and taking their lives to these beautiful healing places. That's their world. It's like we all have these different worlds we're choosing to participate in, and isn't it great as we come into that awareness? I know I've come a long way, girl, from 2 years ago. I used to be that person that got blocked for expressing a political opinion, and now it's like, oh gosh, nope, I don't want to participate in that.
Yeah, awesome. What about anybody else? Sue, Jason? I'm sorry, and who's on the phone? I didn't catch the name.
Ileana.
Ileana.
Hello.
Yes. I haven't heard from you. What do you think?
I read The Secret before, like you guys, and I remember in The Secret that one of the advice they say is not read the news and not pay attention too much about the news. And that's how I do it. I have Facebook, but I put in Facebook positive thinking. Or if I put something, it's to pray for the people that are in pain or what happened right now in the world. But if we focus in the good things, it's better.
Yeah, agreed. It is much better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
don't know. We need to keep the hope that better world in our minds anyway.
And I think, like, even if we, we're thinking about things that are happening in the world that are negative, that affect us in a certain way, rather than just, ranting about it with people, like even focusing the attention on, like, we're just going to put more love, right? Like, we send love to the situation and send love to the families and love, and like that's paying attention, but that's actually going to, serve the world, like not just, around complaining about it. Okay. One other thing that I wanted to mention is talk about, like, repetition. Like, what does that do for us as far as, like, being able to, manage desires and watch them, come into fruition. I said again, sorry guys, it's right around where the section of interest begins, where it says things you think of that gives you joy, pleasure, wisdom, and satisfaction are interests. So again, when I really just kind of embarking on this, personal development journey, and people, what are your desires and like what excites you? And I would always be like, I don't know. And I think it's because I was making it too hard. I was trying to make it be about like what's my life purpose and like these really big, massive things where I was like, I don't know, I'm trying to figure that out. Where literally it can just be the smallest things, where we start to at least practice around, identifying those things that we desire, that we love, that make us feel good. And I wanted to just kind of say something about seeing it over and over again, saying it. Like he talked about focusing your attention. I'm like, well, how do we do that? Right? Like I'm a solutions kind of a girl. For me, it's like, I don't understand something. I'm like, okay, well, show me how. Like, what are the steps? What's the instruction? So how do you pay more attention to things that you desire? And then I thought about this example. So you guys might have seen my post about peacocks. Is my volume coming through okay? I feel like my video is like slowing, or it's not hard to understand what I'm saying. So. Okay. Oh, so. All right. Sorry. I'll try to slow down a little bit. But so what was happening is, never in my life did I have an interest about peacocks, at least not a conscious interest. I went into a store a couple of months ago to get it's like an inspirational gift store. And it's got candles and art and, all kinds of things that are inspiring to be in your house. And I saw this tapestry on the wall, and I was like drawn to it, and I was like, wow, like that is so pretty, it's so beautiful, and I don't know where that would go in my house, but I want to buy it. And the lady, I didn't even realize, because it's not the full peacock, but the design of it was actually like peacock feathers and like the colors in it. I was just like really attracted, and she said, that tapestry is, she said something about the peacock, and I was like, oh wow, like it is. I see it now. Like I didn't see. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that was a peacock, but now I see what you're talking about. So I brought it home. I ironed it, and I laid it out on the dresser because I did not know where it was going to go. And for weeks and weeks and weeks, I'm like looking at this thing on the dresser, loving it. Like it's beautiful to me. Like, oh, I really love that tapestry. I just can't wait to figure out where to put it. And it wasn't going with the paint colors that I had, and I was just like, I couldn't find a place for it, right? But then I started seeing peacocks everywhere. I mean, like, posts on Facebook about like Nancy Dallin like posted this photo about the peacocks watching the fireworks, and I'm like, they were like real peacocks, which I'm like, I didn't even know peacocks were even real, or that they were in the United States. I thought they were just some exotic bird like in Never Never Land or something. I don't know. And then like everywhere, like I'm wearing my peacock shirt. Sorry, I'm gonna slow it down. It's got a little peacock on it. The very first shirt that I saw when I walked into Marshall's, and Marshall's has like 900 million shirts in the front, and I walk past and I see this T-shirt, and I was like, it's the peacock. Like, how do I have this peacock? I want this T-shirt. It's got peacock. You guys, I started seeing peacocks everywhere. Clearly, it was something that probably from that tapestry, maybe it was something before that, but the fact that every day I was walking past this tapestry on my dresser, looked at it, admiring it, right? I didn't even know that I was doing it. I didn't on purpose desire, like, I want peacocks to be in my life, but for it, and I desired it because like it felt good, it was beautiful. But every day I was seeing this tapestry. which is the same, we all know that that's what the purpose of vision boards and writing down these desires, reading them over and over again. What have you guys noticed in your life? Have you started this process, like either by accident or on purpose, as far as like, putting in front of you, like that attention, paying attention to what those things are, not to just be like, yeah, I desire this and walking away, but literally creating, whether it's a pillow room that's got stuff all over the walls, whether it's, writing things down in a journal, whether it's like just praying about it every day. I'm just interested in like, what do you guys do on purpose, consciously, or what things have you noticed subconsciously that the more you pay attention, the more you draw it into your life?
Chris, I love your story about the peacocks, and it just reminded me of something. Some say that seeing is believing, and I've also heard that sometimes you have to believe before you see.
Yeah.
And so, what your story described, the interest that you had, the desire you had, the faith that you had, you came to, I think, a degree of expectation, and then you began to show up, and then you began, and it influenced what you focused on and what you saw. It's it's all a matter of choice. I mean, we all have a choice. I'm a very analytical person, and I think out loud, often kind of slowly, but yeah, that's all I really wanted to share, was that sometimes you have to believe before you can see. That's it.
I think all the time you have to believe before you can see. I mean, at least that's what I'm learning, like with this expectation thing, is like, if you don't, it never shows up. I mean, like things that I have been wishing and hoping for so many years, I never thought they would happen. Not really, not for me. You know what I mean? It happens for everybody else, but it hadn't happened for me. Like, so like, yeah, you just want to find this relationship or this marriage, or everybody's having kids. I want that. But I'm like, but it's not going to happen. Where am I like, so like, and now I'm like ecstatically single, by the way. But like for a long time I wasn't. I was like so bummed about it. But like, why didn't I ask myself? Why? Other people would ask me, why don't you have this? Why don't you have that? I don't know. I pray about it all the time. I wish for it all the time. But do you think that I thought that it would happen? No, I didn't. Which is why the universe is like, well, if you don't, like, if you're back and forth, if there's doubt that it's going to happen, you're going to receive it, then you're probably not. Right? I love that Will Smith quote. He keeps popping in like all the time about like, whatever you believe, you're probably right. Right? Like you can believe that it is going to happen or it's not going to happen. And either way, it's probably going to be that. Either a yes or a no, like based on whichever one you're really holding on to and attaching to. So which one is it going to be? It's going to happen or it's not going to happen. And for me, that the repetition, I have to have things on my wall. I'm not real good about like recalling things on my own. I have to write them in because I'm a visual learner. I have to see it and have a picture of it and be like, I remember it was in green pen. I love the color of that green pen that I used here about the Indians. Like, I'll remember the Indians because I remember the pen. But like, so that's the way I do it. And I know that's not how everybody does it, which is why I was just kind of interested on, like, you guys, like, he said in here that nature, I gotta find it. Nature, does anybody know what I'm talking about? Something starts with nature. Nature does not,
Or a vacuum.
nature does not deprive us of any good and desirable thing, but has provided us with the mental equipment and the inner power to acquire and enjoy all of the essential good to ensure a happy and worthwhile existence. Nature doesn't deprive us of anything. Like, everything is there for us. So for me, everything that I desire, since all of it is for me, I want it in front of my face so that I get that repetition. I'm seeing it, I'm thinking it. And everything that I hear from all of the most successful, joyous people. I mean, just listening to Dave MacArthur at Follow Your Bliss about every single page of photos that he wrote down, like every single thing came to fruition. Everyone, like, how do you explain that? Because he read it every night, right? What do you guys think? What do you do? What are your practices? What do you think about putting your attention and like actually drawing things into your life? Do you see that happening for yourself?
Well, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. A friend of mine is battling cancer, and it's not a subject that I like to dwell on, but lately it just seems like anything and everything related to cancer cures is coming at me. And Belinda mentioned it, it's a big subject matter for her, and I just, everywhere I turn, I'm getting information and some books and some solutions and some answers, and I just feel like it's interesting because I want to help so many people who are nutritionally depleted, and that through isogenics we have so many answers to help people prevent those cells from kicking in, and it resounds in my head over and over and over again, that I have something that I need to share desperately with people so they don't get to the point where they have to face the news in the hospital room or the doctor's office, that they have a choice, that they have an alternative choice to chemo or whatever the case may be, and I don't know, I wake up thinking about it, I go to bed thinking about it, and I know it's because my friend is, waiting to hear some more news, but at the same time, I'm inundated with all this information at once, so I know that I'm supposed to be paying attention. So.
Yeah, I love that. When you start to become aware, and that's all it takes is just to, whereas before you might have been like, man, that's kind of random, right? Like, that was a coincidence that like, I just keep seeing that thing, and like, you keep it moving versus saying, there's something going on here. Right? Like, I keep seeing this thing about hearing about this person, and so I need to really keep my eyes and ears open. So like, what's being communicated to me here through all these different things that Belinda, and I this is so perfect for you to comment on too, because when we were on our walk in Colombia, when you and I really first met, and you talked a lot about kind of being open to listening. In one word, like Casey asked her, Chris is just getting started on this journey, like, what to her? One word, she said, listen. And that was it. I was like waiting for some like big bomb to drop, and I was like, that's it? Like, listen, just listen to what's going on. And I think when we start to move into this space of attracting, and we desire, we're writing these things down, it's on a vision board, we're attracting, and then we start to notice, man, these patterns, things are repeating in my life. I don't know what these peacocks are about. I don't know what these Indians keep showing up. But you know what? Like, there's something going on with this stuff. And then it's going to come. Like, it's going to come out. The how is not up to us. But Belinda, do you have any, I don't know, like, I don't want to say advice, but like, you're like the master at like listening and like tapping in, you know, kind of like, I just think it's amazing.
Actually, I appreciate that very much for saying that. I am so human. It's so laughable, and so I do kind of laugh at myself a lot for just getting out of alignment. But one thing I have had to do for me is spend a lot of quiet time by myself. That's so important to me. I truly cherish that I can do that. And for me, it's easier probably than some others because I don't have children, I don't have a spouse, a boyfriend, family, roommate. And isn't it great, Chris? It's like,
Yeah. Here for a long time.
oh my gosh, if I could just like teach people one thing, that is the beauty of being solo and silent, even if you are surrounded all the time with friends, family, roommates, children. If you can just find that space, and that's why we talk a lot about meditation and so forth, because what I have so see is if I'm just silent and quiet and observant and look around, every single thing I've thought about just shows up, even if even if I'm desiring it or not. Now, when I use the word desire, I might get a little nitpicky there, but whether I'm aware of my subconscious programming, my limiting thoughts, my beliefs, it's just that ongoing that it's all around me. So Sue mentioned cancer. For some reason, I'm no longer fearful of cancer. When I hear somebody say cancer, I can say cancer. It holds no meaning for me anymore. Whereas before, I'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry, right? You hear the word cancer, and we already have buried somebody. That's crazy. And so for me, I've just been on this, I'm finding that it won't leave my thought process, therefore that desire to know that cancer is nothing to fear and that we will have a world. So lately, a world that's free of it, right? Because it's just a lie anyway, and it doesn't even exist. And now truth is coming out, and there's more focus on truth, and there's more focus on all the healing modalities and how beautiful they are. And it's everything that we're talking about, like everything we're talking about. And so I'm just like getting all this beautiful download. And now what's coming around me is almost everything that's just showing up, like it is with Sue. And so I'm just reading everything I can get my hands on, and it just keeps removing fear. It, like Jason was mentioning fear earlier, like I just have no fear. I know it's not even real. And just yesterday, I was out at the pool meeting some of my neighbors. I actually, met people I bought my condo from that I'd never met, because we did a mail closing and so forth. Anyway, so I'm out there and I'm like meeting people, and we were just chatting, and I said, they asked what I did. I told them and about nutrition and toxicity, and it had really become my passion because I don't believe cancer should exist, and that it won't, and that it's just going to go away. Because I said really cancer is a choice, and it doesn't have to be. And the women said, well, we're very interested. We both have been affected. A woman said, wow, can I be a guinea pig? I'd love to know what you're studying and what you're doing about the nutrition. I'm on chemo. Well, I didn't know that. And the other woman said, my husband's a stage 4. And you're right. So see, I know that, like you said, wherever we focus, whatever we desire. So if my desire is visualizing a waiting room of a doctor's office, whether it's heart or general practitioner, whether it is a cancer doctor, I envision an empty office all the time, that there's just nobody in there. That feels good to me.
A bunch of unemployed doctors.
I mean, it's right. If nobody is ever sick anymore because we believe and we focus and we know and we get excited about a world that's no longer sick, then right, it's like that parallel universe of what just kind of goes away and what just disappears, and all those negative things that people are so in a war against, where they're focused in the wrong direction. They're focused on the loss of, the negative of, the backside of it, not like they're, you know what I'm saying? So like none of that even has to be. So that's kind of like telling my cancer story about being quiet and listening and just observant of what's coming to me, what's around me, and then acting on it. And I love, by the way, the peacock. I was just looking up the spiritual meaning of peacock. Did you happen to do that, Chris?
I did a little bit, yeah.
It's good.
I didn't know. I was like, why am I seeing peacocks? But yeah, I was like, oh. Go ahead. Do you want to say anything about it?
It's talked a lot in the Bible. It says in Christianity, it represents the all-seeing church along with the holiness and sanctity associated with it. It represents resurrection, renewal, immortality, and the spiritual teachings of Christianity. I thought that was kind of cool.
It's super cool. And I know we're coming up on time, but I wanted to end on a note, and of course, it's a perfect segue into it. In this book that I was writing things down, and so I would just kind of put it out there that if you guys aren't paying attention, focusing your attention on what's happening in the subconscious as well as the conscious, right? Like if you're dreaming or things that like you're just, happen to notice, it's not like a conscious thought, but like things start to pop up for you. Start writing those things down. And here's a good example of it. Because we don't know like how things are going to come to us, how the puzzle is going to be put together. So in light of the peacock, the first thing that I wrote down of my dream, like when I was like getting ready to go to bed, I'm like, I'm just going to start jotting some things down that I desire, even if they're silly. The first thing I wrote is, I desire to be a spiritual leader who inspires prosperity, abundance, self-love, acceptance, and knowledge of the higher self. So yeah, I said a servant spiritual leader. I don't know why. That was like, that sounds like something that I really want to do. It makes me feel good inside. I'm like, I need to start like really focusing on, what do I desire for my life, right? How do I want to be of service to the world? Personal development is like my thing. I love it. Like I'm into it. Every book, every podcast, I'm into it. And I'm like, this makes me feel good, right? I don't want to stop at just saying, I desire this. So what I'm going to do now after reading this chapter is, I don't know if you can see, at the top I put, I desire blank. Then right below it, I'm going to start writing, I expect blank. Instead of this hopes and dreams, like I really want to take a red pen and cross it out and say, here are my expectations, the box of my expectations. I don't just desire a spiritual leader that inspires prosperity, abundance, self-love, etc. I expect that this will happen because I do desire it. And the expectation is the part that is going to draw the physical, the manifestation of these things into our lives. So is there anybody that wants to close us out with a thought just around desire and expectation and the law of attraction, the God of attraction?
Perfect love casts out all fear. And some time ago, I learned from Dave MacArthur. Was another author. He said that the law of attraction is the law of love. Love is a verb. So perfecting the actions of perfecting those actions which are of love is, well, Jesus put it this way. All the law is summarized in two things: to love God and to love your neighbor, and that summarizes all the law. Hold on, almost got it. Love is the sound that everyone is attracted to. And the sound of heaven is what I believe God desires to be in the earth, is the sound of love. I believe He's set an example of that, and and I'm grateful. Anyway, thank you, Chris. I appreciate you.
Back at you. Thanks to everybody for dialing in, you guys. And this is so much fun. I just really get into this stuff, and I love sharing it with all of you, and also hearing about your experiences. And my desire and my expectation is that very, very soon, soon, we'll all be just chatting about all of the abundance that we have in our lives, because we just attracted it, we desired it, and we expected that it would happen. And we're just going to be sitting in the places that we want to be sitting. We're going to have the bodies that we want to be in. We're going to have whatever it is that we want, right? Like whatever it is that excites us. I'm going to have sunshine on my face. I don't know about you, sand between my toes somewhere. This is my living room. So if anybody desires to sit on my couch, I desire a living room that has open seating in white stucco, and that's in my book. So it'll look just like that. Anyway, you guys have an awesome week. Thank you so much for dialing in. Do any of you guys want to volunteer? Belinda, do we have someone to do chapter 6? No, we did 5 last week or 2 weeks ago to host. Does anybody want to do that?
So far we don't, so I would love if anybody wants to volunteer.
Anyone?
Okay.
What is 6?
Oh,
Hold on. 6 is the law of increase.
Increase. Anybody?
That's a scary one.
Scary.
Then that's perfect for you.
Do we have a taker for the law of increase?
I'll do my best.
We'll be here with you.
Awesome. All right, well, tune in next Monday for the law of increase.
Yay. All right, guys. Had a great job.
Bye. Have a good week.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Jason.
Bye.
Thank you, Anna. Everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
Anna.
Have a nice week. Yes, thank you.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.